whether you want to have your camera off or on. And please respect others' privacy by not taking personal recordings or screenshots of this event. We will be sharing everything with you guys as well. And the whole series will be, all the recordings will be shared. Please mute if you're not talking to help us reduce the background noise. And please feel free to ask questions in the chat anytime, and Meredith and I will monitor that. So our calling question for today was, how do we get rooted back to our values and purpose and realise the resources available in our communities? And we've got a check-in question today, and we're asking, which organisation currently inspires you and why? Anybody can start, and if you want to put it on a sticky note and then speak to it, please go for it.
I can start. Just although having time to think about it, there's about 40 other ones I'd like to talk about. But an organization that's really inspiring me right now is Canadian. It's a national movement actually called Disability Without Poverty. And that group came about 2 years ago, just as the pandemic was hitting. And the pandemic has shone a light on a lot of inequities. The amount of money people live on being one of them. So that's my organization, Disability Without Poverty. Peace back.
My organization is actually the organization that I'm a part of, and that's the Self-Advocate Leadership Network of British Columbia.
Thanks, Cara. I'll pick up the piece. Mine is a science and non-duality. I'm really getting into them at the moment. They're doing a lot of sharing of a different approach to trauma with Dr. Gabor Mate. Peace back.
I'll pick up. Sorry, I'm not doing video. I'm wandering around the house. Oh, look, mine at the moment is actually YADA, the organisation that I'm connected with, because I find there's some incredibly inspiring people there, and it's also connecting me to other organisations that that inspire me as well, but I haven't delved deep into, sort of a lot of them. So yeah, look, I'm going to have to say YADA. Peace back. Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one. It's Micah. I think it's Planned Parenthood. I'm not sure if you have it in Canada, but I go there and say good.
I had Modo Coaching, and Modo Coaching, excuse me, are a next stage organisation, which is also something that YADA Institute is as well. So they have based their organisation on the work of Frederick Laloux in his book Reinventing Organisations, to make a radical leap and adopt a whole different set of management principles and practices instead of the usual management hierarchy. So I think they're doing some great work. And like Julie said before, I also put YADA Institute because I think we do some great work too. Peace back.
From Andrea's iPhone to everyone, Cole, and I have to step up for.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Andrea. We shall keep going. So we are now hearing from Cara and Shelley. And I think your topic was finding purpose and meaning during the pandemic and lessons from Jeremy. So I'll hand it over to you.
My name is Cara Anderson, and today I come from the territory, the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, and I happen to live, play, and I'm thankful for all their ancestors. So I have a story I'm going to tell you. This is Arius' story. She did not communicate with words. She needed most things done for her. She needed lots of help to work through decisions from people who understood her ways of communicating. She went into hospital, not for COVID-19, and they refused anyone to come in and be with her because of the COVID-19 safety rules in hospitals. This included her family and supporters, the people who knew and cared about her, the people who could understand her. She died alone. She had no one there to advocate for her. Sorry, I gotta take a sec. Or communicate her wishes and decisions. The Self-Advocate Leadership Network was brought on by a board of fierce and an angry group of family service providers advocates with a mission to change this policy. We were ready. We were not going to give up. Dr. Bonnie Henry, who's our provincial health officer, and Adrian Dix, who is our Minister of Health, heard us, listened to us. They made changes to the policy. People with disabilities, this policy also includes people who are First Nations, people who are seniors. We are now able to have someone by their side in hospital to help them communicate, make decisions, understand what is happening, respect and honor their culture, and advocate for them. That's my story. That story happened about 3 weeks in for the first wave of COVID, just as lockdown happened for us as a country and a province. Basically, Arias was somebody that was supported by a service provider that helps support us of the Self-Advocate Leadership Network. She lived in one of their group homes. She was loved and cared about by many, many people. And because of rules and what was happening at the time, she was left to die on her own. As her brother found out just as he was driving from Kelowna to Vancouver to go see him.
Are you good, Cara? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yep, sorry.
Such an emotional
story. To this day, that story still.
It's a very, yeah, we practiced a couple of times and you couldn't do it either without being emotional.
There are certain things that I cannot get through without bawling like a baby.
Yeah. So I'll just chime in a little bit to add or to just to talk a little bit more about the things that Cara was talking about. But when Cara and I started to think about, the question we got was, how do we give back the power to people with disabilities and help the system to take it back? That was the question we got. And so when we thought about what story to tell, this one really came up for you, right, Cara? Yeah. And then we reflected after we talked about the actual story of Eris Knight, who, she died, and then her death helped to affect some policy change that the group that you were involved in, Self-Advocacy Leadership Network, were key in getting the ear of the people, the decision makers, right? Mm-hmm. So our reflection was really, what is it that how is it that in British Columbia, people with disabilities found a place around that table and were given, you didn't even need amplification. The voice of the self-advocates really affected the change that the ministers needed to do. So, and for me, as I looked historically about this movement in British Columbia, what I really think is that we, we've had about 18 years of something like the NDIS, something like that shift happened for BC about 18 years ago. And there were some visionary people at that time who really believed that we needed to bring the voice of the people who were being served in. And it's taken a long time. It's taken almost 18 years. But in BC now, there are people with disabilities employed by our provincial funder and also have space at lots of tables. And so, as we were thinking about that, about how people are sort of more and more getting experience, what we realized, it wasn't really the people with disabilities that this big change was having an effect on. It was everybody else. So everybody else started to say, this is a voice we need to be listening to. And so, when I tell the story to lots of people, they would say, oh, that's great. People with disabilities got to, practice, and they get to know how to speak to groups and blah, blah, blah. And really what we learned is that it's just the more you get around tables, right, Cara, the more people with disabilities get around the tables, people just stop telling themselves another story. And so the power is, in some senses, is shifting. I don't think you would say it's a partnership yet, but that you have influence. You have influence. Yeah. So that's our story.
Juggling screens here, sorry.
That's okay.
writing some notes. Yeah, powerful stories. And good to hear that a tragedy can end up having such a positive influence and be a part of such a huge change. Thank you for sharing that. What we'd like to do now is using the World Cafe style type of small conversations. So we're going to jump into breakout rooms with small conversations with small groups of people, and ask the same questions. That same question of how do we get rooted back to our values and purpose and realize the resources available in communities, and see what comes to you. And please feel free to use Cara's story and Shelley's contributions as touchstones, or I'm thinking of a mini trampoline, to bounce off and see where that comes for you. So we'll do breakout rooms of about 10 minutes each. We'll do this twice on the same question. Please remember to put your sticky notes in the on the whiteboard, on the mural board. Just wanted to check. Meredith, do you want me to do the breakout rooms, or?
Cara, if Mike wants to be a part of the conversations, you guys, he's welcome to just.
Okay, I will invite him. Just give me, just 20 people coming in, my son and my partner coming in the door. Just give me 2 seconds.
Mom, did you print off?
Okay, cool. I've actually set them up, Meredith, so I don't know whether you have as well. I didn't want to be doubling up. Can you see the sorry, you're going to have to turn yourself off mute or send me a chat.
Sorry, I was just setting up the mural board a little bit, and I just wanted to
Okay.
check to see if there was any clarifying questions before we went into World Cafe.
Yeah,
On
thank you.
Cara's story.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. I thought maybe Micah might be trying to get off. Are you trying to say something, Micah? Hi.
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna put you into breakout rooms, and you'll have 10 minutes to have a bit of a chat, and we'll see you back soon. So remembering your question is, how do we get rooted back to our values and purpose and realize the resources available in communities? See you soon. Welcome back. Just wait for the other guys to get here.
There's a moment when you leave the breakout room that everything disappears. You're like, uh-oh. And it's like, poof, like magic, we're back.
Where am I in outer space?
Yeah. Where do I belong?
Hey, welcome back. Cool. So let's have a look at what kind of light bulbs, aha moments, interesting comments that you heard that you would like to share with us. So maybe from, it doesn't matter because you're two people in two rooms, so anyone can start.
Yeah, I'll pick up. Well, I mean, we got a lot of inspiration from this story. Obviously, that was, it's sad that it takes tragedy to, make a change. But unfortunately, that's the way that our world works. But I think the other thing too is about the more people that you meet, where you realize that there's so much more to be done. And that, person-centeredness is just it's almost an organism. We say the word, but what does it really mean? I think it's, it will, we were saying that it would be it is sort of a long time, for changes that are really going to make an impact on people. But if we all just keep focusing on pushing forward and moving towards that direction, eventually we will, sort of be inspired and see more change. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Julie.
Did you want to add anything to that, Cara?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm being quiet today.
Okay. Thanks. Shelley and Micah.
Micah, is there anything you want to say about our conversation? You might have popped off. Oh, well, Micah just reminded me that our values come from somewhere. And so when I was asking him, how does he know about the importance of community? How does he know? And he was saying that a lot of what he learned was from his family. And so that has just been something that he's carried on. And so that was an important thing for me, that we all can have influence on each other about what is valuable and how community can be valuable, especially these days when we're all so insulated. And the other thing we talked about was how the message is so often you're supposed to be an independent person. You're supposed to do it all yourself. You're supposed to, and the truth is that's a big fat lie. And so, say that again.
I said you just sounded like Nolda.
Well, and it's true, right? That we all need each other. We all need each other. So that was the other part that we talked about.
No, as my friend Nolda says, there's no such thing as the word independence. There's interdependence, where we can learn to depend on each other. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. And that's how it should be, right? We should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Her dad is 88 years old and he's learning how to text on his phone. So the other night I was talking to her. She's like, Cara, I've got to go. I was like, what's up? Something going on with her? She's like, no, my dad's texting me and I know you'll get worried if I don't text him back right now. It's like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that text messages, sometimes you send somebody a text message, it may take him a while to answer the text message, but
Yeah. Different strokes, different folks, how we work, that's important to know, isn't it? What works for us and how to best work with each other.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, Cara?
Oh no, I was just asking my son to come put the milk away. It's okay.
Okay, cool. So we're going to do one more breakout room, shuffle you up a little bit and have another conversation. The same question, please, of how do we get to our values and purpose and realise the resources available in communities. We'll have another 10 minutes and then we'll see you back soon.
There we are, we're back.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're back.
So tell us a little bit about what you heard. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you from that conversation.
I know for me, I just realized how important the sense of community for me was when I first moved here. I moved from another province where I had lived in one community, like one city for most of my life. I mean, I lived in Calgary, Alberta for like 34 and a half years of my life. 34 and a half years of my life. So, and then to come to another province, to another community where I didn't know anybody.
Mom,
Yes.
I just forgot I can't use the stove.
Oh,
Hot dogs are not grease, are they?
no, not really. Just be
Okay.
careful.
Well, you almost didn't know anybody.
Yeah, well, I almost didn't know anybody, sorry, except for like my mom and my dad and my kid and my grandpa. But because my grandpa eventually moved out too, but yeah, that was just kind of my realization how life can take you on different now how as you get older, how your sense of community and what you need from your community and stuff changes, right? As I said to Shelley, one time I was a big social butterfly. Like I loved going out for coffee and all that stuff, going to the movies or friends or going to a concert. And then I got myself a partner, and nowadays I'm just quite content on a Friday or Saturday night. There's a good hockey or football game. And when I say football, I mean Canadian football, not soccer. That I'm just quite content to sit curled up on the couch watching something on TV. Like life changes, expectations change, right?
And our definition of community can change as well. That was one thing that came out of our conversation for me. And the fact that you were talking about your lived experience, right? You moved and then you were lost. You didn't. You were miserable. You were miserable
for the almost first 2 years I lived here. Drove my parents nuts.
Yeah. Till you started to find.
I still lived at home, which is also probably why I drove my parents nuts.
But I was asking Cara, do you think, because you're pretty passionate now about supporting others to figure out their community and find their community, and so my curiosity was about whether or not her experience really fueled that, like that rootedness of values came from her deep experience. So it was a great conversation.
Thank you. Awesome. Julie and Micah, how'd you go?
It was good.
would you like to share with us a little bit about what you talked about?
Yeah, I share with her what I do, and I found out that it is the morning there and it's the night here.
Yeah, we had a great conversation. Michael was telling me about he goes and his job going to universities and lecturing about yourself, Micah. Yeah, that's mainly mainly what your conversations are about. And I mean, that's how knowledge gets out from to actually be to be heard in community is how we have more understanding of what's happening in your world, and that makes a change, that makes a difference. Yeah, it was a good conversation.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And yeah, we are on the other side of the planet, Micah. If you just kind of look down, we're like a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny thing to think about, isn't it? That we can chat with people so far away, and it feels like we're just next door. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. Is there anybody that would like to make any other comments about this topic of how do we get rooted back to our values and purpose and realize the resources available in communities? Are there any other comments? I think that something that's always struck me about communities is that when there's a big disaster or a pandemic or something that's like a big dramatic thing, community's really good at coming together and doing stuff to support each other. What I'd like to see is how can we make that happen without the big drama? Can we bring communities together just to be together anyway? So yeah, I've just moved here and only been here a year. Mum's lived here for 15 years, but she hardly knows the neighbours. So I've organised a street party. We need to have a street party and get a little bit of live music and invite the whole neighbourhood. And we live in a cul-de-sac, so we'll just close off the whole cul-de-sac, the end of the road, and just have people here and get to know your neighbours a little bit more.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, Michaela, too. It's the way that we do that is to continually be inspired and be driven by you're a person who has lots of energy and drive. So having people like that in your world is what makes change. It's like that whole
dinner, please.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, reformed workaholics. We need more of them in the world.
Yeah, and we can't help it, when we've got that much energy. Shelley's a bit the same, when you've got that much energy that you just want to give, we're the no retirement plan people. It's like it ain't happening.
I know. I know. Yeah, I can't imagine it. I know people like that's sort of close for me, and I go, yeah, really? I'm not sure when there's going to be a time in my life when I sit down and knit, or or read a romance novel or something like all those other things that I see people do. I go, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I can't really see it. It's a long way away. But look, I think that always being curious, is what makes change as well. Having curiosity about what else is out there. Sort of meeting new people and being curious as to what's in their world and what's available for them is what I'm finding too. It makes me go search the internet and so yeah, I think that's
actually I'm like that too. I mean, I've never held a full-time job or whatever, but I'm always wanting to learn something. I love to read, I love to whatever, so I don't drive, so my reading time is like on a bus, or my knitting time is sitting on the bus between point A to point B. And I just, because it makes the time, just makes my day, it just makes the day go by fast. Just makes the day go by faster for me. So yeah, those are just kind of, yeah, it's just kind of my little. Okay, sorry.
I was just thinking that there's a lot of hope in the fact that there's this great rise in the feminine and what we're talking about is not about women, right? But about the feminine perspective of we need each other and we can sit and tell stories to one another. And so that's a kind of certainly something that's been big in my thinking for the last couple of years, and just how are we able to leverage that or keep bringing more of that in, that idea of and it's happening, right? Like the patriarchy is going down and that's not about men, it's just about the masculine. So.
Yep, for sure. Beautiful. Thank you so much. What I'd like to do, if we could please, and thank you, Meredith, for these check-in, check-out questions, just perfect. What's today's most valuable learning? What did you learn most from today's conversation?
I'll pick up. I think to, like stay inspired, stay driven, lots more conversations. I find these Wicked Wednesdays and talking to people across the other side of the planet is so good. I love it. It's really good. So thank you. Peace back.
I'll pick up. I just want to say the same. I want to reiterate what Julie just said. It's so important to just keep having these conversations. And then the other thing for me that struck me was something Cara said, and that's this idea that depending on what our situation is, our idea of community can change and shift. So there's not one way to look at it. It's really unique to the person. Thank you. Peace back.
I just had a thought and I've forgotten it. No, I know I didn't say. I know for me is what Shell said, the sense of the fact that community changes all the time. I appreciate being invited by Shelley and everybody. It's fun. I love to talk. I like hearing my own voice. No kidding. It's just, I like when I can add something to the conversation. It may not be particularly insightful, but it may just be funny or interesting or whatever. So that's just me. So thank you.
I'll pick up the piece. For me today, my best learning was the more that we have people with disabilities at the table, the more that mindsets and perspectives shift. Yeah, thank you for that. Peace back. I think we have Micah and Meredith to share. What was your most valuable learning today?
I think it was just learning about other countries and what other people do, and I think it was just nice being there with everyone.
I'll pick up. I really appreciate people sharing their stories, even if they are really difficult ones to share. I think there's really important learnings in all of those that we need to keep going. We have to not stop even when it gets really hard. And yeah, keep fighting, keep trying to shift and change things. But I also love how you mentioned, Cara, that your sense of community changed when you changed community, because I experienced that as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing. It's just not something that I thought of or reflected on, I guess, until you mentioned that. So thank you for sharing.
And also even your sense of community's even changed for me since COVID, right?
Yeah.
It's gotten like not small, but just a little smaller, just because we've been limited on the number of people we've been allowed to be around and stuff. I know for me, last Christmas was really, really tough. I'm a New Year's baby. I'm born New Year's Eve of all days of the year to be born, but hey. And my partner and I were supposed to go away, and I was just in this absolute grumpy, Scroogey funk I did not want to do. And he's like, well, let's go out. And I just like, no, I don't want to do anything. So he actually planned a Zoom surprise party for the little one. So, and I had he had planned it for like the last 2 weeks, and I had no idea that he had planned it. So he's just like, oh yeah, I'm going on the computer, and he's like, I need your help with something. Come help me. I was like, okay. The next thing you know is I've got like 12 people that I know sitting on our computer screen. And I'm like, you jackass. So, but it made my day. It actually put a smile on my face and actually made me feel a little better, because last year was kind of a sucky. I think for a lot of us, the last couple of years have been kind of sucky birthdays and sucky Christmases. So.
Thanks for that, Cara.
No,
well, hopefully this year is going to be better, and every year on be better. So, thanks for that, guys. How about we have an early mark? Because a few of us have been on here a bit longer. So thanks for today's, and we will be posting the recordings and the hearts. We will send them out to you. Meredith, can you just please grab Micah and Cara's email addresses to make sure we got them on the registration, so we can make sure that they get info? I think it's in the chat.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I'll make sure I add
Thank you.
them in.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. All right, and hopefully we will be doing these again, and we'll certainly let you know. Find us on the Facebook group, the PCP Unconference, and yeah, see how we go from there. Thanks
Sounds
for
good.
today.
Thank you, guys.
Have a beautiful
you.
evening.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
See ya.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Bye.
coming, Micah and Cara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you. Bye.